Hello,
Wait,
everyone.
What? Okay, so this video is the Lorax theory. And the theorizer is claiming that Ted is the Onceler's grandson. Okay,
Hello,
let's get
everyone.
into
I'm
it.
the theorizer, and I analyze things because I can. Oh yes,
Yes,
if you're
sir.
a fan, then you know about all my crazy antics, the things
Oh, yeah,
I
we're big
theorize,
fans.
solve, deduce, detect. But if you're new, then you're probably unaware of the epic madness you're about to view.
Yeah.
I often revise past theories I've made, usually because the videos didn't have my voice in them, and they had poor editing or poor execution or something poor that I just couldn't stand. Even my older videos that do have my voice have poor recording and weird microphone placement, and I've never actually revised a theory that already had my voice. I've also never revised two videos into one. Enter the Lorax.
Oh my god. Guys, this is gonna be fucking insane. I already know. If he actually proves this, I'm gonna have my mind fucking obliterated and probably be done recording
Back
for the
in
day.
2016, I made a two-part series analyzing this deeply interesting movie before it was a meme, and I actually, no joke, dug so many little hidden plot threads out of it. Those videos are the foundation of my current channel. But there was just one problem. I also filled the video with ideas I no longer think are even remotely accurate, so indulge me today as I greatly improve upon one of my best theories ever, which not only built my channel into what it currently is, but also set the stage for my many other analyses of Dr. Seuss movies. These films are far more deep than they should be. If you've seen the Lorax, then chances are you've seen the Lorax. But
Yeah.
have you really seen the Lorax? No.
God, dude.
Because what if I told you that there's a hidden family tree, a hidden timeline, a wicked
hidden
conspiracy involving
timeline?
Grammy Norma, and an utterly shocking plot twist that is literally and
Dude,
physically
yeah, I already know. I guarantee these Dr. Seuss movies tie in so, like, crazily. I can't even imagine, so.
shrouded in darkness. You would chuckle and assume I'm joking. Well, this is no joke, because Ted's grandfather is the Onceler. Oh dear, what evidence could I possibly have to prove this? Little mimetic jokes, petty and illogical jumps? No. I have absurd levels of evidence in every possible direction to prove this, and
No
your mind will
fucking
be
way,
utterly
dude,
blown.
guys.
First of all, Ted, our protagonist, visually does look like the Onceler. That should be obvious. In fact, one or two people online noticed
That
this
is
as well.
true, dude.
in the
Holy
past,
shit,
but
he does look a
even
lot.
anatomically and genetically, the damn everything pairs up perfectly. This goes for hair color, handedness, eye color, earlobes, and the fact that Ted's mom is incredibly tall, unlike her mother, but completely alike the Onceler. No, it's true.
my
Every single
God, dude.
scene I viewed, including Mrs. Wiggins, featured the same pattern of which hands she uses dominantly. Her hair color and height, of course, also directly parallel the Onceler. Her eyes are brown like her mother, since brown most often trumps blue when dealing with genes. Most often, not always, but if there's an underlying story like I'm claiming, they'd be logically brown. The earlobes are incredibly tricky since the afros of the women cover up their ears completely, but Ted, lo and behold, has attached earlobes like the
God,
Onceler. Now, this is a recessive trait, meaning it's actually more likely to phase out of a family, since dangling earlobes are dominant, but the fact that it did not, and that the Onceler also has attached earlobes means it's more likely than not that they are related. And this is in a film where some characters have dangling and some have attached. This is specific, chosen by the animators.
Dude.
Same goes for the handedness. Characters vary in being both left and right-handed, but the animators actually do stay very consistent in keeping those dominant hands in people. And miraculously, every single person in Ted's supposed gene pool have right hands as their dominant. So the basics for genetics match up actually perfectly, but that's only the first piece of evidence. And I'm not making a piece of evidence video, I'm making a theory video.
Yeah.
So now comes the next step in analyzing, the fun step. What happened? How could one main character possibly be the grandfather of the other main character? It's senseless, but it's not time for debating illogicalities, not yet. It's time to prove it all with a timeline, because yes, all of their ages match up perfectly. When I say perfectly, Now, we never see Grammy Norma when she was
Oh,
younger,
God,
which makes
dude.
it hard to identify her age. Luckily, we have other references that work perfectly. Mr. O'Hare and the Onceler himself.
Oh, I forgot that.
This is enough to figure out the timeline. In fact, the gap in...
Oh, we gotta go to Tommy's at 2.
Why?
It's for Carla's graduation party for like 30 minutes. You haven't seen any time my family for like months, so you don't even plan.
Alright.
and the Onceler himself. This is enough to figure out the timeline. In fact, the gap in years works barely, snugly, and perfectly at 33 years between the Truffle-a-Tree era and the Sneedville era. O'Hare was in his late teens and the Onceler was in his mid-20s, and in the present, O'Hare is around 50 while the Onceler is almost 60. Perfect. 33 years. The timing is so snug it keeps me warm at night. Now that we know this, we can calculate Grammy Norma's age in the past by using her daughter. Mrs. Wiggins has a love of 70s disco, is old enough to have a son normally and raise him normally, and her appearance does in fact visually look to be about 40. In which case Norma would snugly fit at around age 65 in the present, which makes her 7 years older than the Onceler, meaning she was 32 in the Truffle era. Which, yes, means she was in the same age bracket, because the way she speaks and reminisces about her past makes you think that she was a little girl during the Truffle era. But then when you see O'Hare in the past, it throws everything off. She was far and away an adult in the past, and it was all of the currently middle-aged people who were young children during the era of the trees.
So his
Mrs. Wiggins and the vast majority of the population of Sneedville, whose memories have since faded due to time. And of course we know the fact that O'Hare and a couple of his maintenance workers were all around in the past. But in the span of those 33 years, a lot happens. The Onceler's domination of the market happened over the course of years, a long, long time. The song he sings transcends around a decade. Other songs here do that too, like the ending song, which time-lapses the growth of a truffle tree. The song was a large chunk of those 33 years, but Mrs. Wiggins has grown older since then. Sneedville itself isn't too old. Even in the damn intro song to this literal movie, everyone in the town sings about how new and amazing Sneedville is and how they all love the new stuff. This movie is misleading us on the surface on purpose. All of this means that Mrs. Wiggins would have in fact just been 7 near the beginning of the Truffle era. Before Sneedville was transformed into what it currently is, it was known as Greenville. We see it, especially in the deleted scenes of the past. Grammy Norma most certainly lived there, and obviously, of course, Mrs. Wiggins lived there as it transformed into Sneedville, no thanks to O'Hare and the Onceler's individual schemings. Obviously, Norma left the Onceler after his insane bankruptcy and his Truffle extermination. Greenville's name implies they worshipped the Truffle trees before Sneeds, which doesn't make the Onceler look too good in anyone's eyes, but Norma seems to know him well enough in the present to know where he currently hides out, hence her telling Ted. We've done timing, we've done the literal genes, and we've looked at how the pollution changed a town we barely get to see prior to its transformation, but we've not looked at anything seriously mind-blowing yet. Luckily, I saved the best for last. Or maybe that's unlucky considering YouTube watch times. Regardless of my analytical glitches, Grammy Norma is one of the most suspicious characters I have ever seen in any animated film ever. First of all, she sneakily plants the idea of the Onceler into Ted's mind during their meal, and then she says quotes such as, "Oh, he's real, all right," and I think she directly knows the Lorax. If someone implies to directly know the Lorax, then they most likely also know the Onceler. The Lorax was somewhat well known in the past, but not by any direct means, but Norma does imply she knows him. And during their game of futuristic Scrabble, Norma even has the Lorax's name spelled out in her usable letters. It's the filmmakers hinting towards how Norma's part of it all, and her contained suspiciousness isn't superficial in the slightest. And as I was literally writing the script back in 2016, I watched behind-the-scenes footage of the Lorax, and it auto-played a deleted line. Betty White, voicing Norma, literally originally told Ted to find the Lorax. A deleted line, mysteriously, for no other apparent reason. Intriguing.
Trying to make
but
it harder,
there's
huh?
more. Subtleties. Subtleties Grammy Norma displays, intentionally animated micro-expressions, it's amazing. During their meal, Norma tells Mrs. Wiggins to leave the table. She tries to nudge her daughter mentally, and it's because she's bringing up her past husband to clueless Ted, something Mrs. Wiggins would likely be upset by. And we know this because after Norma brings up the Onceler anyways, Mrs. Wiggins depressingly tries to silence her mother by calling it a fable, awkwardly trying to end the conversation.
Then you know what? You need to find the Onceler. The what?
Mom, it's not really the time for any, magical fables.
Norma blurts out stuff about the Onceler, then quickly looks away and pretends to focus on something else. Mrs. Wiggins responds with a loud and irritated voice, a lack of eye contact, and then she tries to process what she should do about this statement, stuttering before calling it
Dude, I noticed this shit, but I never thought it went this deep.
When the grandma retaliates and says Mrs. Wiggins is mocking her age, the mom stares through her soul and says, "Stand down, that's not what I meant."
I'm old and can't even remember to put my teeth in.
Stand down. That's not what I meant.
No, really, I forgot my teeth.
Which begs the absolute question, what did the mother mean? It was obvious sarcasm, but underlying it was the silencing of any information regarding her father, the one who destroyed the city, the one who, if the word got out that they are related to, would destroy their reputations forever. Knowing Mrs. Wiggins would forbid Ted from meeting the Onceler, Norma tricks her daughter into leaving the room before going full freaking out with the theatrics on Ted about how he must find the trees. It's all so that Ted can be the metaphorical fix to a problem that the only other apparent male in his family has created. Ted's father is a theory for another day, but the mother's reactions are so detailed in this movie that I've even pondered O'Hare. Initially, my theory was that Audrey was the Lorax, and this entire theory was a mere evidence point of that, which I delved only a tiny bit more into during part 2. It was a writing flop and was the only way I could present it after constantly rewriting the script. Even now, this thing is still hard to fully explain. It's all details, no big picture. But the evidence that surfaced in the second half of this is where things are actually completely proven without a shred of doubt. I go a little bit into how Ted and Audrey symbolize the trees with their orange clothing, and O'Hare and the Onceler symbolize industrialism with all that gray business attire. But the evidence for the Onceler grandpa theory is explosive here. A firebomb lit by one little point. A viewer known as Jasmine Guevara had commented on part 1 of the theory, stating that they found something, and their comment prompted me to make a whole 5-minute video surrounding it because it stunned me for hours after reading it. I have never, to this day, been as stunned by anything relating to my theories as this single evidence point stunned me like it did. I have no clue at all how they noticed this incredibly significant, unbelievably hidden detail, but for the very tiny, split second as the Onceler walks out of his house at the very end of the movie, if you brighten up the video a lot, you can see a framed image on the wall inside of his house.
What is that?
This image is of a person, a woman, with a very large, curly, dark brown afro, and an incredibly faint shading imprint of circles around the location of the eyes. It's incredibly hard to make out the glasses shading, but that very apparent afro should be more than enough to prove everything. This is a Wiggins woman. I am certain that this is Norma as her younger self, but I suppose it could also be Ted's mother. Regardless, this detail, this very
I can't see shit. I don't know if you guys can see shit in that fucking picture, but I can't see shit.
Consciously animated little detail cranks this theory from possible to actually likely. The Onceler has framed his family memories. Does he know Ted is his grandson? I highly doubt it. Norma's the schemer. But this is shocking. This is also not simply a reused character animation model. The film does that sometimes, but never does it with the main characters.
Wait.
Ever.
Let me see if my quality's just down on this shit. No, it's on 1080. Huh, I don't know.
Except here. And if you search through Greenville's very few scenes, you can in fact see a few characters who fit Norma's description. Young women with brown hair. Not old women with white hair, mind you, who there are a couple of in Greenville. Norma would look like a shorter version of her daughter here, obviously. Unless the photo is recent and the Onceler is somehow still in direct contact with sneaky old Norma. Or just brainstorming here. Perhaps he gave O'Hare the city, and in return O'Hare gave him updates on Ted's family. Hence the spying. Ooh, theory for another day. This is what the family tree looks like, and the timeline goes something like: the Onceler meets Norma perhaps before or during his reign as a monetary monarch. A child is born from this, and when she turns 7, her father is the owner of an absolute empire.
So then who's
we
his
mysteriously never
dad?
get the Onceler's last name. Then again, Wiggins could just be Norma's maiden name. The Wiggins women stay in Greenville as it grows into the sheltered empire of Aloysius O'Hare. Daughter has a son, movie takes place a decade later, boom, done. I should do this kind of revision more often. I hope you enjoyed, because this underlying plot truly is the definition of mind-blowing. Subscribe if
That
you want,
is
because
crazy
2019
to
is
think
going to be a
about,
very...
dude. Comment what you guys think down below, and if you believe this theory. I thought it was pretty interesting. I really want to know who the dad is, though, now.